What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and iOS 10 Beta 3 came out today in a surprise release with over 40 new features. So I personally dug through the OS trying to find every little change or feature that was included in this new release, and I came up with over 40, so I'd love to share them with you in this video. Now, iOS 10 Beta 3 is a pretty big update. You know, most people are saying there's not much that's changed, but there's a lot of things in fact that have, and some really cool stuff. So let's jump right in. Just so you know, iOS 10 Beta 3 will be on the right for the duration of this video, Beta 2 on the left as a point of reference. So very first change everybody immediately noticed is that the new typing sound is back that Apple originally introduced in Beta 1, removed in Beta 2, and this is what it is. And this was the old one in Beta 2. So that new modern sounding click is back. Really cool, possibly a sign of things to come. iOS 10 Beta 3 will now tell you when there is now moisture in the lightning port. So it'll immediately basically say you want to go ahead and unplug that accessory. Sometimes it takes a minute to come up, but if you do get it a little bit wet, you're going to get this. So there was some sort of moisture sensor in here that Apple didn't have activated until now. So it will go ahead and tell you to disconnect it, and there is possible water damage if you don't. In accessibility, in the home button settings, there was a new option in the last beta for rest finger to unlock. However, it wasn't working. Now it is. So if you guys go ahead and just put your finger without clicking, raise your device, it will unlock it. So this brings back the iOS 9 behavior when it comes to unlocking your device to iOS 10 Beta 3. And this one is very strange. There is a new sound and haptic feedback when locking your device. It takes a minute to get used to. So this is what it sounds like now. And once more, it's like half of the sound that used to exist, and it's kind of nice. It's a little modern, but definitely takes some getting used to. There is a new animation when sliding down on the notification center in Beta 3. So if you'll notice, it's sort of a slide to reveal instead of them subtly popping up like they do on Beta 2. So kind of really nice actually. The way that your device reacts to you 3D touching on a notification is now different. So in Beta 2, you will get this dismiss option. You will no longer get that on the same notification in Beta 3. Unfortunately, I don't have it, so I can't show it to you, but for example, this guy. So pretend this wouldn't be here for the very same notification. Also, clicking back here will not make the notification disappear. It'll just go back to where it was. However, on this one, you can't do that. You can only dismiss it. So if you do click the home button, it does disappear. On the new one, it doesn't. And I thought I'd throw this in here because I never mentioned it. It was in earlier betas. But if you take the notification center and drag it down very slowly, you will get haptic feedback. So you'll get two, and if you let it go, you'll get another one if you go ahead and slide it back up. This one is very subtle, but the color of the 3D touch text has become a little bit darker. So if you'll notice on the right, it's a little bit more legible just because it's a shade darker now. And this applies to anywhere really. It's not just in notes. Every 3D touch text is now a little bit darker. When 3D touching on a third-party app in iOS 10 Beta 3, instead of just getting a share option, you'll now get share and the name of the app on the right. So very good news. I was happy to learn about this one. The circle folders bug is now working once again in still mode on iOS 10 Beta 3. So if I go ahead and set this wallpaper on the home screen, you'll notice that the circle folders are back, whereas they were kind of grayed out on Beta 2. Really good news, and if you don't get them, just move them around and they will turn into a circle. So the augmented reality mode on Pokemon Go is finally working. This is something that's going to make a lot of people happy. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and play Pokemon Go on Beta 3. A little hard to hold here, but the iOS 10 Beta 3 interface for widgets on the iPad has slightly changed. So it's a little bit wider, and that makes the search bar a little bit wider as well. And that does translate to landscape. So the search bar is a little bit thicker here, but otherwise looking pretty similar. So a very good improvement in reliability of widgets on Beta 3. So a lot of ones that didn't work for apparently no reason on Beta 2 started working for me. So not only that, but some do seem to fit a little bit better, but in general, they just actually work now. Not to mention the speed is so much better. So things like App Switcher, opening and closing apps, you know, the difference is actually very palpable in iOS 10 and Beta 3. So something I'm definitely liking, especially the more apps you have open, you know, it doesn't get progressively worse like it does on Beta 2. So a really annoying thing on iOS 10 Beta 2, when playing music on the lock screen, you couldn't slide to unlock when actually pressing on the album art, and that since has been fixed in Beta 3. So you guys can go ahead and slide on top of that album art regardless. So if you're trying to unlock your device with a wrong fingerprint, on Beta 3 there's a new haptic feedback that replaces the old vibration style on Beta 2. So it now kind of matches when you go ahead and mute and unmute your device. It's that new updated haptic haptic feedback. Lots of changes to Apple Music. In playlists that you go ahead and download from Apple Music, you no longer add them, you subscribe to them. Definitely not a welcome change. So in songs, albums, artists, if you actually go in on the top, it used to say how many. In this case, 56 songs. Now it no longer says how many in beta 3. So definitely not a welcome change, but there is a new shuffle all icon that makes it a little bit easier to go ahead and do so, whereas there's a little subtle one over here. It now says shuffle all and has the icon right there. And same deal in the recently added in playlists. So the shuffle all icon, it now has an icon next to it. It's a little bit more visible, but the color is changed. In the search part of your Apple Music, it's actually been swapped, the controls up here. So your in library is now on the left, whereas it was on the right before, and now says your library, not in library, and Apple Music has swapped as well. Also, you now have an option to go ahead and clear in your searches instead of not having that option in beta 2. In the now playing pane, if you go down to the up next section, if you want to rearrange these, there's a new animation now. So previously on beta 2, you kind of couldn't see what was going on. Now, if you go ahead and try to rearrange them, there's a shadow to it. So it becomes a little easier to distinguish where you're moving it, just like that. There's a new interface for 3D touching on songs, so it's a little bit shrunk down, cleaner, all in one section instead of divided like that, which is kind of cool. Also, if you open up into a song and go in here, the options menu is cleaner here as well. And if you'll notice, downloads has become downloaded music on the main page of your music. Also, you can go ahead and disable downloaded music or re-enable it. Previously on beta 2, you had no option for the downloaded music. In the Photos application, if you go ahead and open up the extensions, there is now a new option to send to iCloud Drive. Previously, that was unavailable on beta 2. In the Messages application, if you have a long name, number, email, whatever it is, it will fully display now right underneath the avatar instead of being cut off just like that. Also, if you don't have a set contact picture, the avatars are slightly different now for the text. So they don't have a shadow to them, no gradient, it's just completely flat on the right. In the image picker in Messages, your images are no longer cropped. So if they're a tall vertical image, it will no longer be cropped just like that. You can see the entire thing, make it easier to distinguish between photos here. Now, if you're trying to pick out the perfect GIF or GIF, however you pronounce it, in the search function in Messages, and someone sends you a message, this is what it's going to look like on iOS 10 beta 3. It's coming right out of the avatar instead of on the side. So once again, really clean look just right there. In Notes, that new sharing feature, the icon for it is now slightly different. So it's a little bit shaded, easier to distinguish on the white background. In Control Center, this one is very, very subtle, but on the new clock icons, the shading is a little bit different. So it's more of a dark greenish, a little bit darker color, making it easier again to distinguish that icon. So a very interesting small one. If you have a 16 gigabyte iPhone 6s base storage option, your capacity will go up by 10 megabytes. So from 12.09 to 12.1 gigabytes. In settings, if we jump into the Siri settings right here, there is now a new section for app support. So in here, you'll be able to turn off basically any third-party application, what it can and cannot do. When you open up the Health application on iOS 10 beta 3 for the first time, you will now get an option to go ahead and share activity with developers, with Apple, and you can go ahead and allow that in here. Also, if we dig deeper and go into the diagnostics and usage, that option is available now here. And in the Health app, if we jump into one of the sections, underneath the video placeholder, there is now a text summary. So basically it'll tell you what the video is about. So the Control Center pane for HomeKit is slightly tweaked. Now the icon is a little bit different up there, and the rest of the icons are a little darker, bolder, easier to see. And previously on the top right where it said accessories, it didn't spell it out completely. Now it does, and it looks like that. And in the HomeKit settings, there is now a new option to use the device you're using as the hub for HomeKit. So everything will happen from this one device as long as you check that. And there's been a bug patch that did affect a lot of users. So when you were playing music and you did anything that activated haptic feedback, including 3D touch or doing even this, it would pause the music. So that's been fixed. And there was previously a bug where you would get stuck replying to a message from the lock screen. It wouldn't bring up the keyboard, and that has since been fixed also in this latest beta. And guys, I may be wrong on this one, but is Apple finally bringing the volume HUD from the middle of the display to the top? So there's a new volume indicator in Instagram. It could just be an Instagram exclusive feature on iOS 10, but if you try and change the sound during a video, it's up here instead of being in the middle of the content. And again, I could be wrong on this one, but the reason I mention this is because on iOS 9, it's still in the middle of the device. So it's not like it's up there and hidden, but it could just be on iOS 10. Either way, I'm excited at the possibility of it being up there now. And guys, the very last two I want to share with you were not found in beta 3. They were found earlier, but I just never had the chance to share them with you. First off, on the iPad Pros, if you have an Apple Pencil, you guys will soon be getting 3D touch functionality, possibly everywhere, who knows? But for now, there is one area where there is 3D touch, and that's in the notification center. If you go ahead and just, click on this little X, it'll bring up the same interface, and with pressure, you can activate that. And it's only been found here. So I'm very curious, will Apple expand this and bring this to other areas on the device? I never shared this one with you guys, but if you download multiple apps at the same time, you can prioritize the app download. So if I go ahead and 3D touch on it, you can go ahead and select to prioritize this one and download it before that one. And the very last thing I wanted to show you is the Geekbench comparison. So 2539 on beta 3, 4414 on the multi-core score on beta 3 over here. So a little bit weaker, nothing to be concerned about. It's the stability and the actual animations that have improved. So really, you cannot go wrong by updating to the latest beta 3 plus all these awesome new features. Anyways, guys, that's just about it. Just want to say thank you for watching this video. I know I didn't even find all of them. I looked and dug deep, but I'm sure there are still features left undiscovered. And when I do find them, I'll share them with you in another video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day. Peace.